Okay, we're going to get started with our second speaker of the morning. Introducing our next speaker will be her fabulous mentor, Silao. She is a research associate, a social scientist at the USDA Forest Service at the Institute of the Pacific Island Forestry. Her focus is on co-producing research, which we greatly appreciate, and in capacity building with a drive to transform food systems. Her work blends agroecology and political ecology to explore the links between biodiversity, community stewardship, and just transitions to agroforestry. She is very passionate about making science actionable and impactful beyond just academia. And so without further ado, I'd like to bring Zoe to the microphone.
Thank you, Lisa, for that introduction, and thank you all. It's great to be with you. I'm sorry I can't be there in person today. I am grateful to have the opportunity to introduce Tuimalata Puletiuatoa to everyone, and grateful that I've been able to work with her for the last 2 years. Tui started around the similar time that I started with the Institute. And she's been very patient with me in the transitions during that time. And it's been great getting to work together. So Tui is from American Samoa. Her diverse background in science inspired her to pursue a degree in conservation. She actually graduated from the University of Hawaiʻi at Hilo with a bachelor's degree in animal science right before coming into the TCBES program. And her research focuses on promoting agroforestry in American Samoa and understanding the challenges and needs of practitioners in the face of climate change. Tui hopes to work in conservation and promote agroforestry across the Pacific, integrating traditional knowledge with sustainable practices to support local communities. And I'm excited about the research she's going to share today. Tui, as she will tell you, has worked in the past with the land grant community college in American Samoa, and so she was able to build on those relationships and work with them for her internship project. So I've been grateful to be able to strengthen connections with those folks through her work. And yeah, Tui, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you and have you share your presentation.
I just need to move her picture off of the. Okay. Bear with us for a second.
Thank you, Zoe, for that lovely introduction. So today I'll be sharing my master's project titled Understanding Agroforestry Systems Composition, Practitioners' Challenges and Needs in American Samoa. And in addition to that, I'll also be discussing some of the experiences and extra work that I was involved in with the agencies I worked and collaborated with. So here's an outline of what I'll be covering today, starting with my positionality, who I am, and the perspective I bring to this work, followed by a quick introduction to the agencies I work with and the mentors who supported me throughout this project. Then I'll talk about how those collaborations shaped the project itself, walk through my methods and key findings, and finally share some additional experiences, and then finish with my acknowledgements. So I'd like to share a bit about myself to give some context. I was raised in American Samoa in the village of Uowolo, where growing up meant being surrounded by the ocean, forests, and plants. So everything is green. And that connection to the land is just part of everyday life. And it shaped a lot of my values, especially the importance of taking care of the environment in our communities. I want to bring your focus to the photo at the bottom. That is my house. That is where I was raised. And as you can see, it stands out really much because of the green in the background. And after leaving home to pursue my undergraduate degree, I ended up in this cloudy town of Hilo. Don't get me wrong, I love it so much and decided to stay. And over the years, I've had diverse experiences in science, which ultimately led me to focus on conservation work, where my love for the land and its preservation continues to grow. I'll give you a minute to enjoy the book. So, as a student in the TCBES program, I was fortunate to have the opportunity to work as a fellow at the U.S. Forest Service's Institute of Pacific Island Forestry, or IPIF, which I will refer to throughout this whole presentation. So located in Hilo, IPIF is a research and technology center within the USDA Forest Service's Pacific Southwest Research Station. Its mission focuses on managing, preserving, and restoring natural resources, natural ecosystems across the Pacific region, including places like Hawaiʻi, Guam, American Samoa, the Federated States of Micronesia, Republic of Palau, CNMI, and Republic of the Marshall Islands. And the Institute conducts vital research on topics such as tropical forestry, conservation biology, and natural resource management. And a key component of IPIF's work is knowledge transfer, ensuring that research findings are shared with resource managers and the broader public to help protect these ecosystems. So on the slide, we can see some images. You can see images showcasing some of the work, some of the projects that IPIF Sciences have worked on or are currently working on, including their efforts to address ROD, which is rapid the mangroves, and other critical environmental issues in the Pacific. So, and these are just a few examples of the important work the Institute is doing in our region and the Pacific as well. And IPIF's collaboration with local agencies and communities, including American Samoa, provided a research foundation for my project and deeply shaped my understanding of the local ecosystems I worked with. So as a fellow at IPIF, I had the privilege of being mentored by some truly remarkable scientists. First, I want to highlight Hastings Silao, who is my primary mentor and a guiding light throughout our time working together. Her support and expertise are invaluable in shaping my research. I also want to recognize Susan Cordell and Amanda Uowolo, both of whom supported me during my time at the Institute. And the way these strong women approach their work inspires me, and I strive to carry that same ambition and determination into my career. So with IPIF's mission of building partnerships through the Pacific, I was really fortunate to work with one of the key agencies in American Samoa, the Agriculture, Community, and Natural Resources, or ACNR, Land Grant Division at the American Samoa Community College. ACNR is committed to serving the people of American Samoa through research, education, outreach programs focused on agriculture and natural resource management. And what makes their work especially meaningful is how they integrate traditional knowledge with modern science to address local environmental and agricultural challenges. So the Land Grant Division is made up of 3 branches. First, the Instruction Division, which provides post-secondary agriculture-related educational programs. And program offerings include the Associate of Science in General Agriculture, Family and Consumer Sciences, Agribusiness, and Natural Resources. Then there's the Research Division, which is made up of 3 programs, Entomology, Horticulture, and Teacherculture. Then there's lastly the Extension Division, which is made up of 4 major programs: the Agriculture Extension, 4-H youth program, family and consumer sciences, and the forestry program, which is where I spent most of my time. And this collaboration with ASCC, ACNR really grounded my project in the local context and gave me the chance to learn directly from practitioners and community members on the ground. So the project truly came to life through my collaboration with the forestry program at the ACNR land grant. The forestry program is focused on preserving, protecting, and enhancing, as well as managing forests and related natural resources in American Samoa. I had the incredible opportunity to work closely with Simon Stowers, who is the forest stewardship specialist, as well as Tuimalata, the urban community forestry specialist. And their guidance, expertise, and on-the-ground experience were essential throughout every stage of my project. I also want to acknowledge the forestry program manager, Dennis Sene Jr., whose support was key in helping me stay aligned with the program, with the goals of the program and the community. And what made this partnership really meaningful was that it wasn't just about research. It was about ensuring the work connected directly to the needs of the community and supported the goals of the Forest Action Plan, which I will cover in this. So, since many of you may not be familiar with the Forest Action Plan, I want to take a brief moment to explain what the document is, and why it's important to this project. So under the 2008 Farm Bill, Congress required all U.S. states and territories to assess the condition of their forests and develop strategies to conserve working forest landscapes, protect forests from harm, and enhance the public benefits that forests provide. So for American Samoa, the Forest Action Plan is a guiding document that outlines how to sustainably manage and protect forest resources over the long term. And it highlights key challenges and lay out strategies to address them, ranging from biodiversity conservation to improving forest health and public engagement. So what you see here on the slide are some of the specific strategies from the Forest Action Plan that directly relate to my project. These include promoting agroforestry in urban zones to prevent upslope clearing, conducting research to select appropriate tree species and techniques for reforesting areas of abundant agricultural lands, and working with villages, families, government agencies, schools, and the college to increase native trees in urban and coastal zone. And these strategies served as a framework for my project, and it helped ensure that the work I did supported like broader goals for forest conservation and community involvement in American Samoa. So, as we saw earlier in the Forest Action Plan, includes strategies to conserve and enhance forest resources in American Samoa. One of the key strategies focuses on promoting agroforestry. So, what is agroforestry? It's the intentional integration of agriculture and forestry to create land use systems that are both productive and sustainable. Or in simpler terms, it's when you grow trees, crops, and sometimes even raise animals all in the same space instead of separating them like in conventional farming. And this approach mimics natural ecosystems and offers a lot of benefits. And what you're seeing here on the slide is agroforestry in action. There's trees providing shades, crops growing underneath, and a setup that looks a lot more like a natural forest than a monocrop farm. It's diverse, it's dynamic, and it's deeply connected to the way communities have managed land for generations. So as we dive deeper into agroforestry, it's important to know that in regions with more temperate climate, agroforestry is often divided into 5 distinct but related practices. And these include alley cropping, riparian forest buffer, windbreaks, forest farming, and silvopasture. To briefly go over each of the systems, so alley cropping, it's where agricultural crops are grown alongside long-term tree crops, allowing them to thrive together in the same space. Forest farming, it's where high value crops are cultivated under protected canopy of managed forests, offering a more sustainable and shaded environment for crops to grow. And then we have riparian forest buffer, which is, these are natural or reestablished forests along streamside areas, made up of trees, shrubs and grasses, which help protect waterways and improve water quality. Going down the list, we have silvopasture, which the system integrates trees with forage crops and livestock, creating a combined approach to land use that benefits both animals and the environment. And then lastly, windbreaks. These are linear planting of trees and shrubs designed to protect crops, livestock, and soil by reducing the impact of wind and enhancing water and soil conservation. So why is agroforestry important? Food security. Agroforestry increases food security, food availability by replanting with biodiversity in mind. This means more fruits, seeds, nuts, and vegetables for local communities, helping families grow diverse, nutritious food right from the land. Biodiversity. These systems supports a wider range of plants and animal species, creating a more resilient ecosystem. And by combining trees, crops, and other plants, enhances habitats for native species and protect biodiversity. And in addition to food production, agroforestry can provide economic opportunities through high value crops and forest production trees. This means that communities can harvest fruits, timber, and other products for income while maintaining a healthy environment. Then we have soil health. Trees and shrubs, they play a crucial role in improving soil structure, soil fertility, and water infiltration. They help prevent soil erosion, enhance water retention, and reduce runoff, well, which are all essentials for sustainable farming. And then it also recognizes traditional knowledge and practices. And lastly, more carbon storage. Agroforests help combat climate change, and because forests store over half of the world's carbon, and trees convert carbon dioxide into oxygen that we breathe. And by increasing tree cover through agroforestry, we contribute to reducing atmospheric carbon. But these are just some of the benefits of agroforestry. And with this in mind, this system not only helps preserve the land, but it also improves the quality of life for communities. Now that we discussed the many benefits of agroforestry, let's turn our focus to American Samoa, where my study was conducted. So American Samoa is a U.S. territory. It's located in the South Pacific. It is made up of 5 main islands and 2 atolls. The largest and most populous of these islands is Tuimalata. Then there are the Manua Islands, Ofu and Olosena, and which are more remote and less populated. And we also have, there's a new island just off the coast of Tuimalata, and the 2 atolls, Swains and Rose. So the territory spans roughly like 77 square miles with a tropical climate, and lush landscapes that are rich in biodiversity. The island's economy is largely based on fishing, agriculture, and tourism, and the community has a deep cultural connection to the land and the ocean. So now that we located American Samoa and share a bit about the landscape and community, let's talk about agroforestry in these local contexts. So agroforestry has always been a part of life in the territory, even before it had a formal name. So many families grow food on their land in ways that naturally integrate trees, crops, and sometimes animals, creating systems that are productive, resilient, and culturally rooted. And however, as modern agriculture practices and land development continues to grow, some of the traditional knowledge in stewarding the system is at risk of being lost. So there's also a growing pressure from climate change, invasive species, and shifting economic needs. So there's a real opportunity here to document, support, and strengthen agroforestry system that already exists, which while also identifying the needs and challenges of practitioners. And that's what led me to this project. So this study focused on addressing 3 core research questions, each designed to align with strategies outlined in the Forest Action Plan, which I mentioned earlier. First, I want to understand how does the species composition of agroforestry systems vary among households or villages within Tuimalata and Manua. In other words, what kind of plants and trees are being grown and how do they differ from across different areas. Second, I wanted to look at the challenges of agroforestry. What challenges of agroforestry practitioners? This includes everything from land access to labor to pest, climate stress, or even generational knowledge gaps. And finally, looking at the needs of farmers and land stewards to support the perpetuation of native and culturally significant trees, especially in the face of climate change. And these questions guided the direction of my fieldwork and helped frame the conversations I had with local practitioners and owners throughout the project. So to answer the research questions and meet our objective goals, we conducted semi-structured interviews with farmers and landowners actively practicing agroforestry in American Samoa. We used purposes sampling with help from the Forest Stewardship, Agriculture, and Agriculture Extension Program managers. And they recommended farmers from their active client list, especially those with at least 5 years of farming experience. Simon Stowers, who is the Forest Stewardship specialist, recommended 8 farmers, and the Agriculture Extension Manager recommended 7. And in addition to those interviews, I also used snow sampling method, where I asked participants to refer others they know who are also involved in agroforestry, and that led to 6 more interviews with farmers who were referred by others. So this approach helped me connect with a diverse group of experienced practitioners, each with deep knowledge and long-standing relationships with their land. So for this study, we conducted interviews across the villages on the 2 main islands, which Tuimalata and Manua, and you can see the yellow dots on the map highlighting where each interview took place. So on Tuimalata, we interviewed 15 farmers, and in the Manua Islands, we interviewed a total of 7, bringing us to a total of 22 participants, and each interview lasted an average of about 15 minutes. Most of the participants were over the age of 50, and all interviews were recorded with participants' permission, and I also took notes and photographs during farm walks after each interview. Most interviews were conducted in Samoan, and a few were conducted in English, depending on the participants' language preference, to ensure everyone felt comfortable sharing their stories. So for data analysis, I started by transcribing all interviews recordings. Interviews in English were transcribed using Otter AI, while the ones conducted in Samoan were transcribed manually by myself. Those Samoan transcripts were then reviewed by a language expert to make sure everything was accurate. And afterward, they were translated into English. And the translations also went through a second review for accuracy before I moved on to coding. And transcribing, especially making sure everything was precise in both languages, was one of the most challenging parts of the process. And once everything was transcribed, I coded the data and grouped responses into themes based on the interview questions. And for species composition, I pulled out species names directly from the transcripts, as well as the notes I took during the farm visits. And for challenges and needs, I grouped them separately using by farmers into key themes and sub-themes, which I will cover next. So for our results shows that agroforestry in American Samoa is primarily practiced in home gardens, and about 90% of participants maintain small-scale, diverse agroforestry systems around their homes, integrating a mix of fruit trees, staple crops, and culturally significant plants. And these home gardens all are multifunctional, serving as a source of food, income, and medicinal plants. So from the 22 interviews that conducted, participants mentioned a total of 82 species, including staple food crops and culturally significant plants and plants with medicinal value, as mentioned before. And the species richness across agroforestry systems vary significantly between household and villages in both Tuimalata and Manila. And on average, each household mentioned between 10 to 23 species, with the mean being 7 and the median at 16 species. And there's variations such as that the actual diversity could be even higher, as some species might not have been mentioned in the interviews, but are likely present in the systems. Moving forward, let's take a look at the top 10 mentioned species across all households. And the most frequently mentioned species was Hilo. This was mentioned by 95% of participants, followed by Hawaiʻi, which was mentioned by 90%, and Uowolo, which was mentioned by a total of 81% of participants. And these crops are staple foods in the local diet and hold significant cultural importance. Next, we have Niu, Sāmoa, which is the cacao tree, Mosooi, which is known for its medicinal properties. Ifilele, a hardwood tree, Bomuli, Matai, which is a nitrogen-fixing tree, and Ufi. And this highlights the functional diversity within agroforestry systems in the territory. So, because the study looked closely at the challenges faced by agroforestry practitioners, and the table here summarizes the key themes and sub-themes that came out of the interviews. It also shows how many participants mentioned each issue, helping us see which challenges were most common. So, and almost 3/4 of participants, it's about 73%, pointed to climate-related stressors, such as strong winds, heavy rains, flooding, as a top issue, or a major challenge. And these events are becoming more intense with climate change and are seriously affecting the productivity and sustainability of agroforestry systems. Our next most frequently mentioned challenge is plant disease, including taro leaf blight, disease affecting ulu, coconut leaves turning yellow. Also, many participants talk about how taro leaf blight and how it has a major impact on one of the territory's most important staple crops. And also shown in the table, other challenges including pests, weeds, invasive plants, wild pigs, labor. Some even talk about soil quality and access to equipment parts and space. And altogether, this insights kind of highlights just how complex it is to manage agroforestry systems in the island. So this table highlights the most common needs expressed by the practitioners during the interviews. As you can see, training came up as a top need, with 95% of participants mentioning it, and many specifically asked for workshops and more guidance on pesticide and herbicide use. And this shows that there's a strong desire to build knowledge and skills, especially in managing pests and diseases, which we know are major challenges in the region. Another key theme was access to specific plants like Bomuli, Ifilele, and Matai. These are all native. And these trees are valued for their cultural, ecological, or practical uses. Other needs mentioned included things like farmer exchange programs, labor, more labor support, better access to tools, and even financial assistance to help with ongoing work. So altogether, these responses show that while agroforestry is deeply important, there are still big opportunities to strengthen support systems and make sure farmers have the resources they need to thrive. For this slide, I wanted to highlight a few species that farmers mentioned during the interviews, particularly those that are culturally significant. And these quotes come directly from the farmers themselves and reflect their deep knowledge and connection to the land. One example is the Matai tree, which is ecologically important, has a nitrogen fixing species. It helps improve soil fertility and overall soil health. Then there's the Mosooi tree, frequently mentioned for its cultural value. It's used during pololo season to attract the fish, also used to make coconut oil. Another key species is the coco Sāmoa. One farmer mentioned how he loves to show his kids how to make the cocoa drink using this plant. And continuing with some of the other species highlighted in interviews, we have the Hilo tree, which is good for carving, also used to make the traditional kava bowls. Another plant mentioned was awapui, which is used for church decorations, and masame, which is known for its medicinal values. So some key takeaway from our results is that first, agroforestry systems in American Samoa show high species richness even with relatively short interviews. Participants mentioned a wide variety of crops, trees, and plants, and this speaks to the complexity and richness of these systems. Second, there is a strong diversity of uses within the systems. Plants are grown not just for food, but also for medicine, cultural practices, and sustaining traditions. And this really highlights the importance of continuing to support and preserve native species and the knowledge tied to them. And lastly, it's clear that climate-related stressors and diseases are a major challenge for practitioners. So I also wanted to highlight a few key limitations that are important. First, the interviews were short, around 15 to 20 minutes, which limited how people could go. It's likely some species or challenges were not fully captured. Second, the sample size was small. I interviewed 22 farmers, but had to stop because my internship ended, not because I reached data saturations. Also, most participants were already connected to land grant or forestry programs, so voices outside of these networks may be missing. And finally, there's limited existing research on agroforestry in American Samoa, and the study just begins to scratch the surface, and there's still so much more to learn. Well, the limitations of the study define its scope. They also point to key areas where future research and collaboration can make a meaningful impact. So, conducting ecological survey would help us better document the species composition and structure of agroforestry systems. This is where field-based data would complement what we learn in interviews and provide a transparent understanding of how the systems work in practice. Second, engaging a larger and more diverse group of farmers, particularly those not currently connected to land grant or the forestry program, would give us a broader range of perspectives, helping to identify different strategies and needs. And in addition, a long-term monitoring plan is important because agroforestry systems are very dynamic. They change with seasons, climate, and community practices. So regular data collection would enable adaptive management and inform stronger policy support. There's also clear need for more training and better access to plant materials. And increasing education outreach is essential as well, not only for farmers, but for the broader community. And by raising, and with this, with the outreach education materials, raising awareness of the cultural and ecological and food security benefits of agroforestry that could build support, attract resources, and ensure the systems thrive for the future. So, in addition to the project that I conducted with the forestry program, during my time with them, I also had the opportunity to support their work in ways that went beyond data collection. These experiences were incredibly meaningful. It gave me a deeper understanding of the program's mission. You know, through activities like plant propagation, so all of the work in the nursery, client support, outreach, tree planting with the community, farm visits and workshops. I got to see how that mission is put into practice, not just through policy, but in everyday actions that directly support local communities and the way and the land they depend on. All these experiences allow me to contribute in small but meaningful ways to a program that's actively working to care for American Samoans, forests, and natural resources. And I'm so grateful to have had the chance to learn from an amazing team and be part of that mission, even briefly. So I also want to share some highlights from my time as a fellow with IPIF. I had the opportunity to participate in two Pacific Island Forestry Committee executive meetings, where I listened in on high-level conversations around program priorities, strategic planning, and regional partnerships. And these meetings brought together forestry leaders and partners from across the Pacific to discuss like long-term goals, coordination, and key issues like climate resilience, forest management, and climate justice. And just being part of those conversations gave me a clear picture of how research connects with policy. I also took part in the 2023 PIFC training and workshops, got to engage with a lot of great scientists. And just 2 weeks ago, I had a chance to join in the Pilina project that Amanda and Susan are taking the lead on. And yeah, just great work at the Institute. So that wraps up my project and my experiences. Finally, I want to express my gratitude to the following agencies and individuals who have supported me throughout my graduate journey. I would like to thank the IPIF for their academic support, especially financial support. To my mentor, Zoe, I am deeply grateful for your guidance from start to finish, and your mentorship has helped me grow both as a student and as an individual. And I also want to thank Susan and Amanda for their unwavering support and encouragement in every step since started working at the Institute. Also want to express my appreciation to Lisa Kanali for your continuous guidance and support in helping me navigate this journey. A big tied to the ASCC ACNR Land Grant Forestry Program for allowing me to work with them and expand my knowledge and experience in the field. And to my fellow 2023 TCBES cohort, you've become not just my colleagues, but my close friends and family within the last 2 years, and I will never finish this program without you guys. And to my family, I hope you're watching, thank you for being my constant source of motivation. I dedicate this project to you. You are the foundation of my resilience, and I carry that with me every day. Lastly, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the farmers and participants, because without their dedication and willingness to share their time, knowledge, and experiences, this project would not have been possible. And they are the true champions of agroforestry, and I'm thankful for their invaluable input. If there is one takeaway from this project personally for myself, it is to be resilient, and just like the plants and the system that I study, and just like the people who work tirelessly to protect them for future generations. That concludes my presentations. Mahalo, whakataitele lava. I would like to take any questions.
Dumb question. I've never been to American Samoa. I've been to the airport. About it.
That counts.
That's like that qualifies an experience. But like I didn't see kava listed. Is that not an important crop?
It is very important, but it's not commonly grown. There was probably only 2 farmers that mentioned kava, but they have kava in the garden for the little farm.
You guys bring it over from.
No, they cultivate that in the nursery where I forgot to put some pictures, but there are some pictures that I took of kava where I. Susan?
Great presentation. I'm just curious, what are your next steps? Don't mind
Oh.
sharing with us.
That's a scary question. And also a question I've been avoiding, which I shouldn't. I think my goal is to keep working in conservation and maybe go back home and work with community members, continue the work on agroforestry. But, oh,
Oh, many presentation making project. I just was wondering, did you observe, I think, both in your Korean and American Samoa, any similarities or differences in the challenges and needs of the communities in regard to agroforestry?
I haven't really worked with, any community members that are practicing agroforestry here. Yeah, so it's just back home. Oh, my.
You mentioned, first of all, sorry, you did it. This is so interesting and I think we need so much more work on. But one of the things that, was biggest for a lot of the farmers that was having more trainings and education. Is there an agency or organizations in American Samoa that would be able to help organize some things like that?
Yes, there is, and that is through the help or with the help of the forestry program. I should have mentioned it in my presentation, but Line Grant, the agriculture extension program, they actually offer trainings on herbicide training and pesticide training. So I came to the conclusion that maybe the farmers that are in the forestry program that are not involved in the agriculture extension program, they're probably don't know about these trainings. But yeah, there are. So it's probably partnership with the Department of Agriculture there and the Land Grant Forestry Program. It's just awareness and putting it out. Dr. Floyd.
Thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful. I'm trying to get a sense about the scale or the size of these garden plots that of the folks who interviewed. And so I don't know if you could share a little bit about the size of those and how representative those were. Roughly, it doesn't have to be. And then I guess I had a second question about in your interviews when you were asking them about the challenges. Was that kind of an open-ended question and then they were just able to talk? Those are my two questions.
Yeah, thank you for those two questions. So for the size of the gardens, I would say equivalent to maybe the size of this room. And for your second question, yes. So, which is, I wanted to just put challenges like a broad questions so they could target all the other areas, but I also had probe questions to ask, follow-up questions to ask.
I'm sorry, one follow-up question. So are there larger agricultural activities happening also in the?
Yes. And those are probably commercial farmings. But yeah, because my project was mainly focused with the farmers that are under the two programs, those farmers, they just practice the agroforestry in those areas. But I think the larger farmers are with the probably Department of Agriculture group. Yes.
How much of people food comes from within the home garden and how much comes from on the absent container or whatever?
I think majority of the community, most of them, they farm. They have their own little gardens in their backyards. And I learned from the interviews that most of them that's where they get their crops to feed their families.
So we're at time, but Ariel has one question for you and then we'll close it.
And I just wanted to ask you if your project inspired you to have like an working environment in your life.
So we actually, my dad, he has one, I don't, and so, yeah, but we, in our backyard, we grow carrots and bananas and all the diverse crops as well, the trees. I forgot to mention that in front of our front yard, my mom has a garden where she grows like vegetables, ornamental plants. So yeah, I just hope to continue that work. Well, I should continue that work. Thank you.